we have Willie Bong with the details now. What's playing out in the global economy? How's it looking?
Oh, well, it's looking as it should look because, we did see, you talked about it earlier, Powell decision, Fed.
Yeah, finally.
That divided
last
house
one.
they had there.
Right.
And finally, we saw that third rate cut that was expected in line, with expectations, basically the 25 basis points that investors and market watchers have been looking out for. But the point is, it's looking like it's going to be a rough road ahead in terms of are there going to be any further rate cuts.
Yeah.
And if Powell will still be available or around, going to stick around to be able to give these decisions, or we'll watch and see. But you're talking about real estate earlier as well. Now, one of my first stories is about luxury apartments linked to, a Chinese drone investor being, in trouble here. But let's just see what's going on there. Now, a collection of high-end London apartments tied to an investor in Chinese drone giant DJI have been put up for sale. That's including a £68 million Mayfair penthouse. Now, the portfolio features more than a dozen properties with at least 8 units at Mandarin Oriental Mayfair, listed above £20 million. Another 8 apartments at Embassy Gardens in Vauxhall also on the market. Rocky ends there. We'll see how that plays out. Now, Volkswagen is weighing the launch of electric cars fitted with range extender technology in Europe, and the U.S. has weaker government incentives and charging concerns dampen demand for fully electric models. And the car maker is assessing whether to add the technology already popular in China to its best-selling SUVs and sedans, though no final decision have been made. Now, let's look at still in Europe. European gas futures picked up from a 20-month low as weaker LNG shipments raised supply concerns. Imports into Northwest Europe and Italy have slipped in December, even as mild weather keeps heat and demand soft. Let's look at what's happening with JP Morgan, who is preparing to open a new branch in India for the first time in almost a decade, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, the bank has received in principle approval from the Reserve Bank of India to set up its 4th branch in Pune. Now, the new location near Mumbai will serve corporate clients with services ranging from transaction banking to term lending, reflecting JP Morgan's growing focus on India's fast expanding economy. Now, the NVIDIA supplier SK Hynix says it is exploring a possible U.S. listing after a Korea Economic Daily report suggested the chip maker may float about 2.4% of its treasury shares as American depository receipts. The company confirmed it is reviewing options to boost its value, but stressed that no final decision has been made. Shares have surged nearly 230% this year, driven by global demand for AI hardware, especially its high-bandwidth memory chips used in NVIDIA processors. A U.S. listing could help narrow its valuation gap with rivals like Micron and Samsung. SK Hynix is also ramping up investments, including a nearly $4 billion advanced packaging plant in Indiana, where South Korea weighs a multi-trillion won foundry plan to bolster its semiconductor industry. Now to Saudi Arabia, stock market has just suffered its worst performance in 10 years, falling behind other emerging markets that rallied strongly. Traders say the outlook for 2026 remains weak. Now, with oil prices sliding and forecasts of a super glut next year from Trafigura, investors see little incentive to buy in. Citigroup analysts advise underweighting Saudi stocks, noting poor performance on earnings growth and momentum. And finally, we see Schneider Electric plans to repurchase up to 3.5 billion euros of its shares by 2030 as part of a new profitability push powered by AI and electrification. The firm expects its adjusted EBITDA margin to grow by a cumulative 2.5% organically by 2030, a sharp upgrade from its earlier goal of 0.5% growth between 2024 and 2027. Those are the highlights from the global space. We hope to bring more tomorrow. That's all. I'm Willie Bong.